Hi, my name is Jose. Welcome to my video tutorial on how to play bass in Irish traditional music. Today I will be showing you the steps that I personally follow when I am required to play in a studio setting to record an album or to play live. Irish music has a particular flow and character that makes it unique and to which the bass must adhere to. This means that, in my opinion, the bass player should be careful not to bring patterns or cadences from other styles, like, say, American country music or jazz. And this could be the trickiest part of the job. So playing bass in Irish traditional music the way I do involves teaming up with the guitar player to match the rhythmic and harmonic flow of the guitar to the extent that it makes musical sense, Irish musical sense, and everyone is happy with the results. Also, it is important to understand that sometimes you will create a bass line that matches the guitar flow very closely, and sometimes you will create a bass line that does not so much follow so closely, so it is up to your taste. The examples that I am bringing you today follow this idea. I have built bass lines that match very closely the way the guitar flows, you will see. So, in Irish traditional music, I personally prefer double bass to electric bass in both the studio and live settings. And the reason for this is that Irish traditional music is mostly played with acoustic instruments, which do not have that electric quality, that sharp punch and tone of an amplifier. Acoustic instruments resonate in the ambient naturally without electronic means or volume knobs. So they all sound natural and at the same level. But there is good technology out there. In the case of recording in a studio, for example, you can use good microphones to pick up the natural acoustic sound of the double bass. In live settings, I recommend you use some of those mini condenser microphones that allow you to play without receiving feedback loop. They are a bit expensive, but worth, because they pick up the natural resonance of the body of the instrument. So without further ado, let's start with the first example. So the first tune is a jig called Siúd chun na trá. It is in the key of A major, and let's hear first how it sounds play on the fiddle. First, we have to understand that the chord sequence is created matching the implicit harmony that the notes of the tune suggests. For this, the guitarist or the bouzouki player, the mandola player, piano, whatever instrument, will carry a tune analysis and will build the chord sequence nicely adjusted to the tune. Then the bass line is created from that chord sequence. In this tutorial, I am using a guitar. I have created a guitar sequence with a short intro for this jig. Every guitarist will come up with a different chord progression and a different rhythmic flow, and it is something quite interesting to do. So here is the initial mix. Now let's create the bass line. As I mentioned before, the bass line is created from the chord sequence that we just made on the guitar, or whichever other instrument was played. To create the bass line, I examine the guitar chords and build a bass line that matches it rhythmically and keeps the intention. Then I write the bass line in notation, and I will use it in the studio or even in live settings. So the result is that the guitar and the bass both match and support the main melody really well, as you can see now in the final mix. So in the case that I had to create the bass line in the studio, because say for any reason I never met with the guitar player before, or I could not have access to the guitar chord sequence, then I approach him now and explain my strategy. I always ask the guitarist to show me the chord sequence so I can write the bass. This of course will take some time depending on your skills. Remember to always have a few blank notation sheets in the bass case and the pencil. And remember that the ideal situation is that you, as the bass player, build the bass line from the fixed guitar sequence. This means that ideally the best option for you is to work with the fixed guitar track, so you can let them record the guitar first, and then you will take it from there, as I will explain in my following tip. So now let's work on the second tune. The next tune is a barn dance called The Tin Wire Lass. It is in the key of G major and it sounds like this on the fiddle. So now again I have created a guitar chord sequence matching the fiddle notes. It can be done in many different ways depending on your personal taste or your abilities, and since I am building it from the fiddle melody only, it emulates a real life situation where you are hired by a band to play live or in a studio session. So here is the mix of both the fiddle and the guitar sequences. So now, as before, I rely on the guitar sequence to build the bass arrangement. Let's hear it. If you are hired to record the bass in a studio and the guitar tracks were not recorded yet, I recommend that you explain everyone that the way to get the best results is to work with a fixed guitar track. The reason for this is because the guitarist almost never plays a tune in the exact same way twice, so there will be little differences in the guitar sequence, and that is totally normal. So what I do in this case is explain my strategy, let them record the guitar track first, and then I ask the sound engineer to team up with me and play it for me, pausing and rewinding when I need, until I have written the entire bass line. This is not the ideal way to do it. It takes a bit of time, depending on your abilities, but the results will be quite good. Now let's work on the third tune. It's in the keys of A minor and C major. The A section is in A minor and the B section is in C major. And let's hear how it sounds. We follow the exact same work structure. We analyze the tune notes, we extract the latent harmony, which can take different forms, but they are all equally valid, and then we create the chord sequence. Here it is. Now, as I mentioned in the tips, I take up the guitar sequence, I analyze it and build a bass line that matches it nicely and makes musical sense. There is also the option that the bass player can collaborate with the guitarist to build the chord sequence together. Sometimes the bassist can come up with a nice idea and the guitarist will use it, or the entire band can work on it and discuss what is better. So let's hear the final arrangement, including the bass line that I made for the guitar chord sequence of the reel. So, my recommendation is, if you are hired to record the bass in a studio session, first ask if the guitar has already been recorded, because if so, they can send it to you and you can work on it at your own pace. So you will arrive to the session with your papers written, and you will save time and money to the producer, to the band and the engineer. Plus, your job will show quality, which opens the possibility that they will call you again. If you are asked to join a band to play live, in the Irish traditional world, the notation sheets are not very well seen on stage. But you can memorize your lines and use your senses to run as close as possible with the other musicians. And that's it. Thanks for listening, and I hope you found my tutorial useful and interesting. I'll see you next time.